Well, when it comes to tithing and what I think about tithing, I actually don't give it much thought. It's become second nature. It's become part of who I am. So it makes all the sense in the world. It's like, call it a sixth sense maybe. Tithing all starts, and giving, it all starts with what, God first gave to me. And I think about how hard that was for him, what he did give, which is his son Jesus, who gave me everything. When I first had a child and I realized the love between the father and a child, I started, thinking about, I want this child to be raised right, and I knew I was going to have to make some tough decisions. I can't just give them everything they want. And the old saying, "This hurts me more than it does you." And when I think about that, I think about how you always think about how painful it was for Jesus, but a lot of people don't think about how painful it was for the Father also. When you think about the love between the persons of the Godhead, and it's just infinite love and relationship they have, that on the opposite side, when you lose one, it's the pain has got to be infinite pain. And I can't imagine losing my child, especially doing it willingly for somebody that doesn't deserve it. I mean, would I give my, if ISIS was coming in here and I knew I could give my child up to benefit them, do you think I'd gladly do that? But that's what God did for me, and I just can't imagine trying to hold anything back from God that I can offer Him. I started my own business, and it's been up and down. I don't have a regular paycheck, so it's hard to just say I'm going to give 10% because I don't know what that 10% is going to be. And I just give whatever my heart tells me to give. And it talks about in the Bible that you will, if you give, you will receive. You sow, you reap. But I don't give, I don't give to get. I've already got everything. He gave to me first. It comes back sometimes as a monetary blessing. It's always a spiritual blessing and keeps me at peace. And I used to pray for, I always said I could put, as long as I got Jesus, I could deal with anything. But I would pray, I said, take everything, but don't take the girl. Kind of like Tim McGraw. I'd say, don't take my girls. I can take everything else, take all the money, take everything, but just, keep my family intact. But I know, but he didn't. He didn't keep his family intact. He gave it willingly, and Jesus suffered willingly. And to think he did that for, a sorry person like me is just beyond belief. And so it doesn't even enter my mind. It's not like, it's not like paying taxes where you're constantly trying to do the math and figure out how little you can give. But I believe some people do that with tithing. It's like, how can I keep as much of it as I can? I'm wondering how I can make more to give more. And I believe with that, it's not that I can't fool him into saying, well, if I tell him that, he's going to give me more, so I can give another 10% off that, and I can still keep more. You can't bribe God, you can't manipulate God. He knows your heart, and I believe giving is a condition of the heart. And the only way to get into a giving heart is through Jesus and giving your heart to Jesus. I know some people say they don't have money to give. If you don't have a pot to cook in, give your time first. That's all I'm giving is time, really. My time is turned into money. Money's just the means of way I'm able to give. If you don't have money, give time. You never know if you share Jesus with someone. Heck, that may be the next Bill Gates, who can give millions in your place. What do you say? One thing leads to another. And actually, I'd heard a guy talk about this morning. They were trying to raise money for an event or for something, and a guy sent a letter, and he sent 8 cents in, and he wrote a letter. He said, "This is all I got at the end of the month. I wish I could give more." Well, they read that on air, and it was just a flood of money came in based on what that 8 cents. They saved that 8 cents because that 8 cents turned into maybe $1 million. Don't ever think you can give too little, or it's not enough, that you're ashamed of what you're going to give, because your 2 cents, which is basically what I'm sharing now is my 2 cents, but that 2 cents could be worth millions to someone. That 2 cents that you're sacrificially given is maybe worth more than some billionaire that gives $1 million. God will use it the way, the way He sees it, or the way He needs it. He doesn't need your money. He uses people like Pastor Mike and in this church to do His work here on earth, and necessarily we have to pay rent. It does take some monetary, somebody's got to pay the bills. So, and you're given, you got to think of it as you're given to God, even though it's in the hands of a man, and some people have taken advantage, and I know there's a lot of skeptics about it, but if you got to think of it, you can't worry about what's going to happen to your money. It's between you and God. You're given it. He'll serve His purpose with that, whether the man serves it or not. It'll come back. It's like His word. It won't come back void. If you give it with the right intention and the right motivation, it will come back. He's got a custom plan for you. He's got a purpose for you, and He may bless somebody monetarily. He may not. He may bless somebody another way. Well, like the story of the parable of the talents, He gave to 3 different guys, and 2 of them invested and had more when the guy came back, and one just buried it and gave him back what he had. And I believe that if you use what God gives you and turn it, He encourages you. He'll give you the ability to make it into something more. He doesn't want you to be there tight-fisted with just and hang on and just put yourself in the closet. Any talents He's given, talents as in ability. So that's where I'm standing. I'm trying to use my talents to provide for my family, help where I can with this church, and I. Over the years, I've had ups and downs. Had times people paid slow, and I just we did go through a season. We were always slow in the summer, so through that summer, I had some people file bankruptcy, or one, I won't say people, but I had one company file bankruptcy, and a lot of people slow paid, and I got real behind. And there was even a point where we give to one organization, and they use a direct debit out of my account. I actually called them and I said, look, if it comes out today, there's not enough money in there to pay it. So I'm just letting you know it may bounce. And I started taking it out on my wife Shannon, who worked with me, and I really got down. Well, then Holy Spirit just come over me, and I started asking for forgiveness for disbelief, for not believing that He was going to take care of me. I wasn't asking for more money, wasn't asking for a check to come in the mail. I was asking for forgiveness that I had doubt. Within a week, I had a gentleman come to me and say that the Lord put on his heart that I might need some help. And he gave me a loan, interest-free loan, and that got us through a real tough time. I was, behind on taxes. It was, tax man doesn't wait too long. And he said, just, pay it back within a year. So that was right at the first of the year. So about next December, he called. He goes, well, if you just pay me what you can, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll get it later. And I said, well, we still got a month to go. Well, about December 31st, I called him. I said, I got about 2/3 of the money. I said, but today's not over yet. And I said, the mail hadn't run, so we'll see what happens. Well, the mail ran, and I got a check that gave me the amount plus a little extra that day, and that was the first time, except for the loan that was already gone by the time I got it, that was the first time in the history of my business that I had that much money in my account the day it was due. And I was glad that, I knew it came from God. I think it's more a miracle me paying it back than getting the money in the first place. And like I said, we deposited enough money. I had more money in the account than I've ever had it was probably maybe 7 years that I was in business. And so just like Pastor Mike telling the story of his organ, there's nobody can take that away from me. I know it for a fact. The person who helps me knows what happened for a fact. And I know it can happen for anybody else. He's a big God. He can help anybody. And since then, summer has always been our slow time. I've picked up Riceland Foods in a pre-harvest work that keeps us busy all summer. So he's definitely blessed me. And like I said, I don't even think of it as tithing. I think, there's tithing and offering. You can, if you want to sit down and figure out 10%, I just, in my heart, I think if I did that, I wouldn't see as much blessing as I do. I think you should be a happy giver and be thankful that you have something to give, that God gave you something that you can give. It's all about loving God. It's not about following rules. It's not about just like following the Ten Commandments or all the laws the Mosaic law. It's about you do good because you love God. With my child, if I could tell her to clean a room, if she told me she cleaned it so she wouldn't get a spanking, that wouldn't make me feel good. If she told me she cleaned her room and because she loved me, and that she realized by cleaning her room she was able to function better because she could find her clothes, she could find her toys, I'd be ecstatic. And that's what God does with us. We follow His rules, things work out better for us. He gives us a set of rules to follow. He's not whipping us. He doesn't punish us severely for breaking His rules. There are consequences to rules. That's just His law. There are consequences to breaking His rules. If you get punished, it's not because He's sitting there with the whip whipping you. It's because you do this. If you do A, B happens, and that's the same way with sowing and reaping. If you give good seed, you'll get good fruit. If you sign a check and you do it begrudgingly, and that's not good seed. I don't think you're going to get good fruit. Get good fruit returned to you. I just pray that God will bless all of you. Thank you for listening, and I mean it's just incredible. It's amazing. If you the first thing is get your heart right with God. It's all about love. And my prayer now is that I can. It's easy to give to people that really you see a need. It's the one that don't deserve it. I want to be able to give cheerfully to people who spit in my face, and it's just that's what God did. I mean, people were spitting in His face, and He still was dying for them. He was still praying for them, and that's my prayer, that I can reach out to those who don't deserve it. Like I said, you see somebody on the street, they're doing it. It's a scam, but apparently they still need it. And if we can show them the love of Christ, maybe that'll turn them around. But that's what it's all about: is Jesus and His love and what He's done for us.